It is the National Day of Prayer today, and you say, so what? Who cares? Just a bunch of Christians gathering around, holding hands and bowing their heads and raising streams of words toward the grass at their feet, and having the idea that somehow God is going to hear what they have to say and going to move in the direction of their petitions. Well, you may be right, you may be not right, whether it's just a form or whether it is really something of substance. Is the prayer of the Christian something that changes the way things turn? Is it substance, or is it just a fantasy? Well, your Christian minister will say, well, there is God and there is man. Man is fallen, and God has ordained that men pray to him and speak to him, and he will hear them if they pray his words back to him in the context of their own lives. And that is a conviction, and there's ample evidence of this process of prayer having a great effect in humankind. As C.S. Lewis says, I believe, in the Screwtape Letters, God uses prayers to coordinate and in coordination with all the other things that he has ordained to happen. And prayer is part of the work that he ordains people to perform, a toil, a task that they are required to do. And their submission to him through prayer is a part of his means of bringing about his sovereign will in the affairs of men. So prayer is not just form, and it does affect human relationships, and it does affect history. And the Christian is the one to tell you that it does exist. It is a communication means that has a real value in space and in time. This is David Tulis, and I'm in charge here on the David Tulis Show at Nougat Radio at 92.7 of a means of communication as well. And I'm glad that you are taking advantage of it. It is totally free, and it is instantaneous. And all I hope for today is 5 minutes of your time, just 5 minutes, and you can have a good sense of where we need to go here in Chattanooga and places beyond if you are just passing through on the highway, tuning into your favorite station as you make your pass through Chattanooga over the Ridge Cut. We believe that everything we have to say here can apply to you and your place and your situation, and nothing that I say here is trademarked. It's all free to use, and you can take credit for it. Okay, please take credit for anything that we say here by way of slogan. David Tulis. And what is my main slogan? It's 800-8949. 800-8949 is the number. And in case you forgot, it's love your neighbor and buy local. We offer in pencil only. We offer the theory of Nougat-centrism, localism. Chattanooga is the center of the universe, and you're here for a reason, and you're not here by luck or chance or mistake or mishap or contingency. Okay, those things are out of view, and I would say you're here, well, okay, by God's providence. And near is better than far, small than big, and simple than complex. And in the footnotes at 5-point type in Helvetica font, which of course is the neutral font, the voluntarist font, the font of the volunteer, right? The font of the gracious person, we have this in support. Personal is better than corporate, and physical than abstract. David Tulis live on Facebook. David Tulis here at 92.7 Nougat Radio live on YouTube, and of course at nougatradio.com. We have access to all these interpenetrating media, and I'm a writer, the blogger with the biggest pen, and I write, and I put out there millions of words in the past years, touching on the moment, right? Touching on that moment, and today the moment is to be registered and perhaps wept over, perhaps prayed over. And that is the abusive Valdacia Whaley arrest in Cleveland in April, the Valdacia Whaley arrest, where she was, I would say she was sexually abused in public by a deputy of Eric Watson's police department, that department being taken over pursuant to the elections by Steve Lawson, one of his henchmen, but one of his deputies, if you will, one of his managers of the Yankee drug war, as it plows through the landscape of the poor and the oppressed in Bradley County. The drug war manager is now going to be the new sheriff, and so we have to see and ask ourselves: does the changing of the face of the machinery affect the machinery? and what can affect that machinery. And here we have a question of prayer. Is the National Day of Prayer and the Chattanooga area Day of Prayer going to mention that? Will the people who pray mention Valdatia Whaley and like abuses, a traffic stop based on not even probable cause, but based on perhaps reasonable suspicion that there's contraband in that pickup truck, because we smell in the O'Reilly Auto Parts store the aroma of marijuana on the clothing of one of the three young men involved in that traffic stop. The aroma, the young female deputy then pursuing after the gaggle of deputy cars that surround this pickup truck, all 6 deputies involved in 6 cars at the Citgo gas station, Harry's gas station there. And Valdatia taken to the back of one cruiser and in public, poked and prodded in her privates repeatedly, and as she says, hard. And the use of the word mother F echoing across that tarmac that afternoon. And this is David Tulis. And the question I have is, what kind of culture allows for that to be done? What kind of culture, heavily Christianized in Bradley County, heavily influenced by the gospel in many ways? Eric Watson is a Christian man, no doubt that if you happen to be a Christian and on your death you are in glory, you'll see him over there bowing before the Lord in eternal communion, just as you are doing outside of space and time. But here, what has he done? And why has his administration, and why have administrations like his elsewhere brought about despair and abuse? And here of the descendants of slaves, right? Slaves we thought were freed by the Great War. And yet, as Joel McDermott reports in his book, The Problem of Slavery in Christian America, slavery in effect, even into the early 1900s through the prisoner rental system operated by sheriff's departments across the South. Black men rounded up for vagrancy and put into the jail and then farmed out. A system that ran for years and years after liberation, supposedly. Well, this is David Tulis, and we are arguing for local economy, the free market. Love your neighbor and buy local. Yeah, just like us on Facebook, and the number is 800-8949, 800-8949. And tomorrow, there is a parade. Should this parade about American military might be part of our day of prayer? If we're going to pray about the country, should we pray about what a parade like that means? It starts at 10:30 tomorrow morning at ML King Boulevard and Market Street, and then rumbles with flags and trumpets and tootles and JROTC, rows of shoulders with epaulets and maybe fake M1 Garands as part of the display, northward toward Aquarium Way. 100 floats, bands, units, military veterans groups, and the like, bearing their banners of fidelity, banners of service to the country. And when I think about parades like that, and afraid I'll have to miss it again. I'll have to miss it again because I'm on a homeschool publishing deadline, and I'm just swamped with a deadline. There's a homeschool graduation involving 63 non-schooled graduates, right? Graduates who have not been in school. Probably the most remarkable people in Chattanooga who are graduating this year outside the system. They are outside the scope, outside the claims of the military industrial educational complex, if you will. And my duties are keeping me from the military parade downtown. It is a parade, just by the way, emphasizing the prowess and strength and honor and glory of the Coast Guard, and that is and head of this parade is an educational figure in Chattanooga, in Hamilton County, and that is Dr. Brian Johnson. He is not a military man, except in the sense that you could say that public education is a military enterprise, and in a way. It is a military enterprise. So Dr. Brian Johnson, the superintendent, is our parade marshal tomorrow at the northbound parade, starting at ML King Boulevard and going up Market toward the Aquarium. 800-8949, 800-8949. Brought to you by Euronews.com. Euronews.com and read there about Valdacia Whaley's arrest. And it's connected with the Jamichael Parks arrest and abuse by Dale Liner, Deputy Dale Liner, whom John Wolfe, the civil rights attorney here in Chattanooga, is looking at with a squint in his eye. John Wolfe has been involved repeatedly in excessive force litigation against this county occupation system up there, the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department, though, rejecting its roots at common law, the sheriff originally the peacekeeper, but sheriff's departments across the country since that time have been really changed their perspective. They're not peacekeeping, and they don't respect the people, and they don't reflect the interests of the people. And the duty, I would say, the biblical duty to defend the innocent and harass the oppressed, they are involved in a separate parallel enterprise called law enforcement. Law enforcement, again, part of the American militarization of society and the absorption of private life, family life, into the state. And so we have a military parade tomorrow, and we have as the leader of that, the head of the public school, as it's called here, the public school in Hamilton County, is leading the military parade. Is the school system something that we have to pray about? And in what way, I wonder, are Christians with their heads bowed today, in what way will they be praying for the school system? Will they be praying for the school system and their leaders, kind of a bland prayer of that kind? Or will there be something else? Will there be something in the direction of praying that God will reverse the population growth of the system, which has 43,000 inmates in Hamilton County, 43,000 children, many of them of professing Christian families whose dads pray, whose moms pray. Will that number go up? Will that number increase, or will it go down? Will it go down because people who are praying people realize that they are in violation? They're in violation of one of God's laws. The military parade puts me in mind of American intervention around the world. We have up to 1,000 bases. Now, that number of 1,000 bases includes the Lily Pond bases, which are sort of quasi bases, but they're just sort of encampments, military encampments that Robert Kaplan writes about in his books. Robert Kaplan is the Atlantic writer, a roving correspondent, a noted globalist, but whose many books, I've read several of them, are on this point of American occupation of the world. We have bases in 80 countries, and we kill people. We kill a lot of Muslims in sandy parts of the world. We do that ostensibly in this war on terror. There are other terrors going on, and here now I want you to hear Tiffany McGuinn, and her terror is the following. Her name is Tiffany McGuinn, and we'll have to hear about her in just a moment. She is a woman who has. I met her outside East Ridge City Court a couple days ago, and she gave me a tale of woe, and that is to say, she owes $14,000. She's a waitress at a restaurant. She owes $14,000 to the state, and her papers are out of order, and there is no way she can ever get her papers in order. She has a debt of $14,000 for non-payment of fines, and she can't possibly pay. She can't possibly have her driver's license in order, and she tells me that she cannot legally go from point A to point B by car because that will be a crime. She would be under arrest. She would be driving on revoked, and that is her problem. She is driving on revoked, and she was charged again. She had a 10-year-old DUI, and she hasn't paid that off yet. So as her fines pile up, she can't make the payments. She can't get on the payment program because she hasn't paid off her initial fine, which is years old. And she has amassed $14,000 worth of debt, and she is a woman. I offer as an example of a tyranny that is one that we don't ever pray about. We don't pray about this tyranny because we don't really understand it, and we don't see it. We just see it as the way things are. It is normative. The oppressions we have today that are based on the state by good intentions of Republicans and Democrats, these tyrannies are invisible. We don't see them. And I think that perhaps if there are going to be matters of prayer, it would be in the sense that we should pray for the people who are being ground down by the system, whom we don't see and we can't see. This is David Tulis with Nigger Radio. I'm outside the city court in East Ridge. I'm talking with Tiffany McQuinn. Tiffany, what happened today before Judge Helton? Explain why you were in front of him, and then what happened, and then what's the story behind your sad situation?
Well, I have a suspended license, and I have been caught driving on a suspended license, and I have the total fees for the suspended license is we're going to round it off at $13,500. $13,500. Now they have a system to where they have a program now to where you can get on a payment plan, but I have a DUI from 10 years ago, but it has to be paid in full.
It has to be paid first?
It has to be paid first. You cannot get on a payment plan until that is paid first. They will not work with you. And for that, that's about $1,400.
$1,400 of the earlier one, the 10-year ago one, and then you have $13,000 on top of that.
Well, it's all together, but that has to be paid first. And now I will tell you, the judge has worked with me several times, but I just told him, like, it's literally nothing that I can say. I cannot afford it. I at work, I do not receive food stamps. I do not receive any kind of public assistance at all. I do have a child, my son's father. He is very active in his life, and I do, I receive him that, but I still have monthly rent, $800 a month. I have, I have to pay. I can't afford it. With me not being able to drive, now I have to pay to get cabs, Uber, and everything. I have my son plays baseball, football, basketball, and he has to be able to get there. His dad helps out, but I have to do my part too. That costs as well. So yes, I cannot afford it. I cannot afford, it's dropped down now because we've been paying on it. I've been paying on it. It's dropped down now to $700, but
$700 a month?
$700 now is what I have to pay, but that's still a lot of money. As I said, my rent is $800, and they're not going to take payments. Well, I have paid on it, but I can't when I come to court because he had the option to tell me, well, you're gonna if he would have declared me guilty, if I would have been guilty, then it would have been everything that I paid would have been for nothing. And now as today, I've paid up a total to $1,400.
And you have still more than $10,000 to go.
Way more than that. And I can't, it's nothing I can do but keep doing what they say is paying it. But because I don't want to be in jail. I have a kid. I have a whole family at home to take care of. So I have to do what the court say do. And then when I come in front of the judge and he asks me, why don't you have your license? This is why. Because I can't afford it.
What is your line of work and what is your income?
I'm a server, and I don't want to say my place of business. I'm serving the birds. I don't want to say my place of business, but my weekly income is about let's say $750 a week. You know what I mean? And I have to piece stuff together. Like I said, I also have kids that live with me. I have to take care of them. They don't have an income at all.
And you mentioned, ma'am, that you had to the judge that you had another child coming into your household.
Yes, I do have another child that is in my household. So that's what I meant by two kids.
Is it possible that you can be on the road apart from driving? Is there any way you can use a car and not have a driver's license and do it legally, or is it impossible?
You cannot. If you are on the road and you don't have a license, you will go to jail. You will. Now, I will also say this. I do know instances where people have not went to jail. But every time the reason why I'm here now is because I had to use the car to pick my son up from the bus stop. And that's why and that was 2 years ago. I've not been caught driving since then. Do not drive. And I have not, anytime I've ever been pulled over, and it was from a broken headlight, and I'm still fighting this now. I'm not fighting it. I'm still paying for it. because I mean it's against the law. I cannot say anything about it. It's against the law, but it's just hard trying to get the situation better.
And if you can't get on the road to go somewhere, you are effectively under a death sentence, right? You're under a civil death sentence, because without movement, you can't get to work, you can't do favors, you can't go to church, you can't go to the drugstore, you can't go shopping.
I will say this. I'm not going to say that it's just more difficult, because regardless of
This is David Tulis, and there you have it, a civil death sentence on the poor. There are thousands and thousands of people, 250,000 people in Tennessee who've had their driver's licenses revoked, and many of them because they're too poor to pay their court debt. How did they get there? They got there because of an abuse that we all accept as normal and rational, an abuse of Title 55, the transportation statute, a problem that on your behalf I'm working. David Tulis, Nuka Radio.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio.